Captain Jake Martinez stood on the bridge of the exploration ship Harmony, watching the stars through the main screen. His crew had been traveling through deep space for 3 months, looking for new worlds and new life. The mission was simple: explore, learn, and make friends with whoever they might find out there. Jake was a good captain. He was 35 years old, with dark hair and kind eyes. He had been in space for 10 years, and he loved his job. His crew trusted him, and he trusted them. The Harmony was not a warship. It was built for peace, for discovery, and for helping others. Lieutenant Amy Foster sat at her station, listening to the radio signals from space. She was the communications officer, which meant she was responsible for talking to other ships and listening for messages. Amy was 28 years old, with long brown hair and quick fingers that could work the radio controls like magic. Before she joined the space service, she had been a street musician. She played violin on street corners to make money, and she was very good at it. Amy wore headphones and listened carefully to the sounds of space. Most of the time, space was quiet. Sometimes she heard signals from other human ships, or radio waves from distant stars. But today was different. Today she heard something strange. The sound came through her headphones like music, but not quite music. It was beautiful and sad at the same time. The notes went up and down in patterns that seemed to mean something, but Amy could not understand what. She had never heard anything like it before. "Captain," Amy called out, taking off her headphones. "I'm picking up something unusual." Jake walked over to her station. "What kind of unusual?" "It sounds like music, sir. But it's not coming from any human ship. The computer says it's an alien signal." Jake felt his heart beat faster. In all his years in space, he had never met real aliens. Humans had found empty planets and old ruins, but never living aliens. This could be the most important discovery in human history. "Put it on the main speakers," Jake ordered. Amy pressed some buttons, and the strange music filled the bridge. Every crew member stopped what they were doing to listen. The sound was unlike anything they had ever heard. It was not just music, but something more. It seemed to carry feelings and thoughts inside the notes. Dr. Lisa Chun, the ship's scientist, came running to the bridge. She was a small woman with short black hair and very smart eyes. "Captain, are you hearing this? The computer is going crazy trying to analyze it." "What can you tell me about it?" Jake asked. Lisa looked at her small computer screen. "The signal is coming from a planet about 2 light years away. It's not random noise. There are patterns, like a language, but it's all in musical frequencies. Whoever is sending this is trying to communicate." Amy listened more carefully to the alien music. As a musician, she could hear things that others might miss. "Captain, I think they're in trouble." "What makes you say that?" "The music," Amy said, closing her eyes to concentrate. "When I played on the streets, I learned to read people's emotions through music. Happy music sounds different from sad music. This music ... it sounds like crying. Like they're asking for help." Jake made a decision. "Set course for that planet. We're going to find out who's sending this signal." The next few days passed slowly as the Harmony traveled toward the alien world. Amy spent most of her time listening to the signals, trying to understand them. The music never stopped, but it seemed to get weaker each day. "It's like they're running out of power," Amy told Dr. Chun. "Or maybe they're dying." Dr. Chun had been studying the signals too. "I think you're right. Look at this." She showed Amy a chart on her computer. "The frequency patterns are becoming less complex. Whatever system they're using to send these signals is breaking down." When the Harmony finally reached the alien planet, Jake and his crew were amazed by what they saw. The planet was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents, but something was wrong. Strange storms covered parts of the surface, and they Storms seem to be made of pure energy instead of wind and rain. Those storms are interfering with the alien signals, Dr. Chun reported. Every time a storm passes over an area, the music from that area stops. Amy watched the planet on the main screen. She could see cities on the surface, but they looked damaged. Some were dark, and others flickered like dying lights. They're really in trouble down there. Jake ordered the ship to move into orbit around the planet. As they got closer, the alien music became clearer. Now they could hear that it was not just one song, but many songs at the same time, like a huge orchestra. But parts of the orchestra were going silent as the storm spread across the planet. "Captain," Amy said, her voice excited, "I'm starting to understand some of the patterns. I think they're trying to tell us something specific." "What?" Amy worked at her controls, separating different parts of the alien music. "There's a repeating pattern here. It's like they're playing the same musical phrase over and over again, but in different ways. In music, when you repeat something with variations, you're usually trying to teach it to someone. You think they're trying to teach us their language?" "Yes, sir, and I think I'm starting to learn it." Jake felt hope and fear at the same time. Hope because they might be able to help these aliens. Fear because time seemed to be running out. The storms on the planet were getting worse, and more parts of the alien orchestra were falling silent every hour. "How long do you think they have?" Jake asked Dr. Chun. "At this rate, maybe a few days before the storms destroy all their cities." Jake looked at his crew. These were good people, trained for exploration and peaceful contact with alien life. They had always hoped to make friends with aliens, but they had never expected to find aliens who were dying. "We came out here to explore and to help," Jake said. "These aliens are the first living beings we found, and they need our help. We're going to do everything we can to save them." Amy put her headphones back on and listened to the alien music. Somewhere in those beautiful, sad songs was a message. She was sure of it. The aliens were trying to tell humanity something important, and she was going to figure out what it was. The fate of an entire alien civilization might depend on a former street musician's ability to understand the language of music that came from the stars. Dr. Lisa Chun had not slept for 2 days. She sat in her laboratory on the Harmony, surrounded by computer screens showing data about the alien planet below. The more she learned about the aliens, the more worried she became. "Captain Martinez." To Dr. Chun came Jake's voice through the communication system. "Please report to the bridge." Lisa rubbed her tired eyes and walked to the bridge. Captain Jake was there with Amy Foster and Ben Rodriguez, the communications specialist. Ben was a tall man with friendly eyes who was very good with computers and radio equipment. "What have you found, Lisa?" Jake asked. Lisa put her data on the main screen. "The aliens call themselves Zephyrians. I've been studying their planet and their cities. Everything they have is built around music and sound vibrations." "What do you mean?" Ben asked. "Look at this," Lisa said, pointing to pictures of the alien cities. Their buildings are not just buildings. They're like giant musical instruments. The walls have special shapes that create sound waves. The streets are designed to carry music from one place to another. Amy leaned forward, interested. "So their whole civilization is based on music?" "More than that," Lisa continued. "I think they need music to live. Watch this." She showed them a video of the alien planet. "See how the cities light up when music plays? The buildings actually glow with different colors when they receive the right sound frequencies." Jake studied the images. "And the storms are stopping the music?" "Yes, Captain. These energy storms are creating interference. They're like noise that blocks out the alien music. When the storms pass over a city, the city goes dark and stops working." Ben looked at his own computer. "I've been trying to contact them using normal radio signals. but they don't respond to anything except musical frequencies. Amy had been quiet, listening to the alien music through her headphones. I think I understand why, she said. In human music, we have rhythm, melody, and harmony. But the Zephyrian music has something more. It's like they're putting information into the music itself. What kind of information? Jake asked. Everything, Amy said, her eyes bright with excitement. I think they use music the way we use words. Different melodies mean different things. Fast music might mean danger. Slow music might mean peace. Complex harmonies might carry detailed information. Lisa nodded. That makes sense. If they're entire. Technology works through sound vibrations. Then of course they would develop language the same way. Ben looked worried. But how can we talk to them? I can't program our computers to speak in music. Amy smiled. You don't need to program a computer. You need a musician. Jake understood immediately. You think you can learn their musical language? I can try, Amy said. On Earth, I played with musicians from many different cultures. Each culture has its own musical style, but music is universal. If the Zephyrians are using music as language, then maybe I can learn to speak it. Dr. Chun showed them more data. There's something else you need to know. The Zephyrians are very old. I estimate their civilization has existed for over 10,000 years. But their population is small now. Maybe only a few million left on the entire planet. The storms are killing them, Jake said quietly. Yes, and I don't think these storms are natural. The energy patterns are too regular, too organized. Something is causing them. Ben checked his instruments. I'm detecting other ships in this star system. They're far away, but they're there. Jake felt a chill. Other alien ships? I think so, Captain. They're not responding to our signals. Amy took off her headphones. Captain, the Zephyrian music is getting more urgent. The patterns are repeating faster, and there are new harmonies I haven't heard before. What do you think they're trying to say? I'm not sure, but it feels like a warning. Like they're trying to tell us about danger. Jake made a decision. We're going to try to communicate with them. Amy, I want you to use our frequency generators to send music back to them. Let them know we're here to help. Amy looked nervous. Captain, what if I say the wrong thing? What if I accidentally insult them or send a message that means something dangerous? Then we'll figure it out together, Jake said kindly. You're the only one who has a chance of understanding them. Amy sat down at the communications console. Ben helped her set up the equipment to send musical signals instead of normal radio messages. Lisa watched the alien planet through the telescopes, ready to see how the aliens would respond. Okay, Amy said, taking a deep breath. I'm going to try to copy one of their simple musical patterns and send it back to them. She pressed the controls, and the harmony sent out a short musical phrase that Amy had heard many times from the Siao planet. It was a simple melody, 5 notes that repeated in a gentle rhythm. For a few minutes, nothing happened. Then suddenly, the alien music from the planet changed. Instead of the sad, urgent songs they had been sending, the aliens began playing something different. It was still music, but it sounded ... curious. It worked, Ben said excitedly. They're responding. The aliens sent back the same 5-note melody that Amy had played, but they added something to it. They played it with different instruments, in different keys, and with small changes to the rhythm. Amy listened carefully. They're teaching me, she said in wonder. They're showing me different ways to play the same musical idea. It's like they're giving me a lesson in their language. Dr. Chun watched the alien cities on her screen. Look at this. The cities are glowing brighter now. The music is making them stronger. For the next several hours, Amy and the aliens exchanged simple musical phrases. Each time Amy played something, The aliens would play it back with variations, teaching her new ways to use their musical language. Amy began to understand that loud music meant important information, soft music meant peaceful thoughts, and complex harmonies carried detailed messages. "I think I can say hello in their language now," Amy told the captain. "Try it," Jake said. Amy played a musical phrase that combined several elements the aliens had taught her. She used a welcoming melody with harmonies that meant peace and friendship. The response from the planet was immediate and joyful. The alien cities blazed with light, and the music that came back was the most beautiful sound any of the humans had ever heard. It was like a celebration, a song of welcome and gratitude. "They're happy we're here," Amy said, tears in her eyes. "They've been alone for so long, and now they know they're not alone anymore." But even as the aliens celebrated, the energy storms continued to spread across their planet. More cities went dark every hour. Time was running out, and the humans still did not know how to help. Jake looked at his crew. "We've made contact. Now we need to figure out how to save them." Amy Foster had been talking with the Zephyrians for 3 days now. Her musical conversations with the aliens were getting longer and more complex. She was learning their language quickly, but what she discovered made her both excited and sad. "Captain," Amy said, calling Jake Martinez to the communication station, "I need to tell you what the Zephyrians have been saying." Jake sat down next to her. Amy looked tired but determined. She had been working almost without rest, learning the alien musical language. "They've been trying to teach other species their music for thousands of years," Amy explained. "But no one has ever been able to learn it before us." "What do you mean?" Amy played a recording of the Zephyrian music. "Listen to this part. They're telling me about other aliens who visited their planet long ago. The Zephyrians tried to communicate with them using music, but the other aliens could not understand. They thought the music was just noise." Dr. Lisa Chun joined them on the bridge. "That's fascinating. Why are humans different?" "I think it's because we use both sides of our brains for music," Amy said. "The Zephyrians told me that their music carries mathematical information and emotional feelings at the same time. Most species can understand one or the other, but not both together." Jake thought about this. "So humans are special because we can think with math and feel with emotions at the same time?" "Exactly," Amy said. "When I play music on Earth, I use mathematical timing and emotional expression together. That's why I can understand the Zephyrians." Commander Steve Parker entered the bridge. Steve was Jake's second in command, a strong man with gray hair who had been in space for 20 years. "Captain, I've been studying the planet's surface. I think I know what's causing those energy storms." Steve put his information on the main screen. "There are huge crystal structures all over the planet. They're bigger than our largest buildings. I think they're some kind of machines." Dr. Chun looked at the images. "Those crystals are arranged in patterns. Musical patterns. The Zephyrians built them to create planet-wide music," Amy added. "They told me the crystals used to sing together, creating harmonies that powered their entire civilization." "Used to?" Jake asked. Amy looked sad. "The crystals are broken. Something damaged them, and now they can't create the right harmonies anymore. Without the crystal music, the Zephyrian cities are dying." Steve studied the crystal images more carefully. "These breaks don't look like accidents. Someone or something attacked these crystals on purpose." Ben Rodriguez had been monitoring space around the planet. "Captain, those unknown ships I detected earlier are getting closer. I count at least 12 vessels, and they're not responding to our signals." Jake felt worry growing in his chest. "Are they hostile?" "I don't know, sir. But they're definitely not human ships." Amy put on her headphones and listened to the Zephyrian music. The aliens are getting more frightened. Their music is becoming urgent and scared. Dr. Chun was working at her science station. Captain, I'm detecting energy weapons on those approaching ships. They're armed for war. Jake made a quick decision. Red alert. All hands to battle stations. Steve, take a team down to the planet. I want to know more about those crystal structures. Yes, sir, Steve replied. I'll take Dr. Chun and a team of engineers. Amy stood up from her station. I want to go too. Amy, it might be dangerous, Jake said. Captain, I'm the only one who can talk to the Zephyrians. If we're going to help them fix their crystals, they need to be able to communicate with us. Jake nodded. All right. But stay close to Commander Parker's team. Within an hour, Steve. Parker was leading a small team down to the planet's surface. Amy, Dr. Chun, and 3 engineers went with him. They landed near one of the largest crystal formations, in an area that was still partially protected from the energy storms. The moment they stepped off their shuttle, Amy gasped. The sound on the planet was incredible, even through the interference. From the storms, she could hear the broken crystals trying to sing. It was like listening to a broken orchestra, where half the instruments were missing. This is amazing, Dr. Chun said, scanning the crystals with her instruments. These structures are part biological, part technological. They're alive. Steve looked around carefully. The crystal formation was as tall as a mountain, with thousands of smaller crystals growing from its sides. Many of the smaller crystals were cracked or completely shattered. What could have done this kind of damage? One of the engineers asked. Amy was listening to the crystal song when she heard something else. Zephyrian music, but different from what she had heard from space. This music was coming from somewhere nearby. There are Zephyrians here, Amy said. I can hear them. Steve led the team toward the sound. Behind the broken crystal formation, they found a group of Zephyrian buildings. The buildings were beautiful, made of curved walls that seemed to flow like music frozen in stone. The first Zephyrian they met was unlike anything they had imagined. It was tall and thin, with silver skin that seemed to shimmer like water. Instead of speaking with its mouth, it created music by vibrating parts of its body, like a living instrument. Amy listened to the Zephyrian's music and then tried to respond, using a small keyboard she had brought from the ship. The conversation was slow, but gradually Amy began to understand what the alien was telling them. His name is... I can't pronounce it, but it sounds like a wind chime, Amy told the others. He says he's one of the Crystal Keepers. His job was to maintain the harmony between all the crystal formations on the planet. The Zephyrian played a long, sad song. He's telling me what happened, Amy continued, listening carefully. Other aliens came to their planet many years ago. The Zephyrians tried to welcome them with music, but the visitors thought the Zephyrians were weak because they didn't have weapons. Dr. Chun was scanning the area with her instruments. I'm detecting traces of energy weapon damage. Someone definitely attacked this place. The Zephyrian's music became more urgent. He says the attackers damaged the crystals to stop the planet's harmony, Amy translated. They wanted to make the Zephyrians helpless so they could take over the planet later. Steve checked his communication device. Amy, ask him if he knows. How to fix the crystals? Amy played a musical question. The Zephyrian's response was long and complex. He says the crystals can be repaired, but it requires perfect harmony between all the formations on the planet. They need to sing together at exactly the same time with exactly the right frequencies. Can they do it themselves? Dr. Chun asked Amy. Ask the question in music. The Zephyrian's answer was sad and slow. He says there aren't enough Zephyrians left alive, and many of the Crystal Keepers died when the crystals were attacked. They need help. Steve looked at the broken crystals towering above them. Could human technology help repair them? The Zephyrians seemed to understand some of what Steve was saying. It played a hopeful melody. He says human technology might work. Amy said, but it would need to be perfectly tuned to the planet's natural harmonies. One wrong note could make everything worse. Ben Rodriguez's voice came through their communication devices. "Commander Parker, those unknown ships are almost here. Captain Martinez wants you back on the Harmony immediately." Steve looked at the Zephyrian and then at Amy. "Tell him we want to help. Tell him we'll find a way to fix the crystals and save his people." Amy played a promise in musical form. The Zephyrian's response was the most beautiful music any of the humans had ever heard. It was a song of hope, gratitude, and trust. As they returned to their shuttle, Amy realized that humanity had found its purpose in the galaxy. They were not the strongest or the smartest species, but they had something unique, the ability to understand both the mathematics and the emotions of music. They could bridge the gap between species that thought only with logic and species that felt only with emotion. But first, they had to survive the approaching alien fleet that was coming to finish what they had started years ago. Engineer Kate Wilson stood in the Harmony's workshop, surrounded by pieces of human technology and crystal samples from the Zephyrian planet. Kate was a small woman with curly red hair and hands that were always covered in grease from working on machines. She had been working for 18 hours straight, trying to solve the biggest puzzle of her life. "Captain Martinez to Kate Wilson," came Jake's voice through the communication system. "I'm here, Captain," Kate replied, not looking up from her work. "How's the progress on the crystal repair project?" Kate wiped her hands on a cloth and looked at the complex device she was building. "It's complicated, sir. I think I can build machines that will generate the right sound frequencies, but they have to be perfectly tuned to match the planet's natural harmonies." Amy Foster walked into the workshop, carrying her violin and a tablet computer. "Kate, I've been working with the Zephyrian Crystal Keeper. He's been teaching me the exact frequencies needed for each crystal formation." Kate looked at Amy's violin with interest. "You know, that might be the key to our problem." "What do you mean?" "Human musical instruments can be adjusted while they're being played," Kate explained. "If we build our machines like giant musical instruments, Amy could tune them in real time while they work." Amy sat down next to Kate's workbench. "The Zephyrian told me something important. The crystals don't just need to produce sound. They need to respond to emotions too." Kate frowned. "How do you put emotions into a machine?" "That's what makes humans special," Amy said. "When I play music, I put my feelings into it. The Zephyrians can hear emotions in music, but they can't create new emotions. They can only copy emotions they've heard before." Kate began to understand. "So we need human musicians to play with emotion, and the machines to amplify that music to the right power level for the crystals." "Exactly." Captain Jake Martinez entered the workshop with Commander Steve Parker and Dr. Lisa Chun. Jake looked worried. "Kate, how soon can you have the machines ready?" "Another 12 hours, Captain. But I'll need more than just Amy to make this work. We'll need every musician on the ship." Steve looked surprised. "Musicians?" "We don't have many musicians on an exploration ship." Amy smiled. "Actually, we have more than you think. Ben Rodriguez plays guitar. Dr. Chun plays piano. Even you mentioned once that you used to play drums in school." "That was 20 years ago," Steve protested. "Music is like riding a bike," Amy said. "You never really forget." Dr. Chun was studying Kate's machine designs on her tablet. "This is brilliant, but there's another problem. Those hostile alien ships will arrive in less than 2 days. If they attack while we're trying to repair the crystals, the whole operation will fail." Jake nodded grimly. "I've been thinking about that. We'll have to defend the planet while the crystal repair happens." "Captain," Steve said, "the Harmony's not a warship. We have basic shields and one small defensive weapon. Those alien ships are built for war." Kate looked up from her workstation. "What if we don't have to fight them directly? What do you mean? Jake asked. The Zephyrians told Amy that their crystal formations used to create a protective field around the planet. If we can get the crystals working again, maybe they can defend themselves. Amy had been listening to Zephyrian music through her headphones. The Crystal Keeper is trying to tell me something new. He says there are other species in this part of the galaxy who were also attacked by these same aliens. Dr. Chun looked interested. Other species? Yes. The hostile aliens go from planet to planet, attacking civilizations that seem weak or peaceful. But they never completely destroy the planets. They damage them and then come back later to take them over. Steve understood immediately. They're like pirates. They weaken their targets and then return when the targets are too damaged to fight. Back, Jake felt angry. And they think the Zephyrians are easy targets because they're peaceful and musical instead of warlike. Kate had an idea. Captain, what if we could contact those other species that were attacked? If they worked together, they might be strong enough to fight back. Amy nodded excitedly. The Zephyrians have been sending their music across space for thousands of years. Other peaceful species might have heard it and tried to learn it, just like we did. Dr. Chun was already working at her computer. I can modify our communication systems to send messages across multiple star systems at once. If there are other species out there who understand Zephyrian music, they might respond. Jake made a decision. Do it. Kate, I want those crystal repair machines ready as soon as possible. Amy, keep working with the Zephyrians to learn everything we need to know about the crystal harmonies. Steve, prepare our defenses. If those hostile ships attack before we're ready, we need to hold them off as long as we can. Over the next day, Kate worked without rest to build the frequency generators. They looked like giant speakers combined, with musical instruments, with controls that would let human musicians adjust the sound in real time. Amy spent hours practicing with the Zephyrian Crystal Keeper, learning the complex musical patterns needed to restore planetary harmony. Dr. Chun sent messages across space using a combination of human radio technology and Zephyrian musical language. She broadcast a call for help to any species that might understand. The response was amazing. Within hours, they received musical replies from 7 different star systems. Other peaceful species had indeed been listening to Zephyrian music over the centuries, and some had learned parts of the musical language. Captain, Dr. Chun reported excitedly, we're getting responses from the Melodians, the core builders, and 5 other species. They all say they've been attacked by the same hostile aliens at different times. Are they willing to help? Jake asked. More than willing. They're already sending ships. The Melodians are musicians like the Zephyrians. The chord builders are engineers who build things with sound waves. Together, they might be able to help us repair the crystals faster. Amy was listening to the new alien music coming from the different species. Captain, this is incredible. Each species learned different parts of Zephyrian music. If we combine what they all know with what humans can do, we might be able to restore the crystals to full power. Kate finished the last of her frequency generators. The machines are ready, Captain. But I need to warn you about something. When we start the crystal repair process, it's going to create a lot of energy. The hostile aliens will definitely notice what we're doing. Steve checked his defensive preparations. Our new allies won't arrive for another 6 hours. The hostile fleet will be here in 4 hours. We're going to have to start the crystal repair while we're under attack. Jake looked at his crew. These people had become his family over the years in space. They were about to risk their lives to save an alien species they had just met, and they were doing it because it was the right thing to do. The Zephyrians have been waiting for help for years, Jake said. Other species tried to destroy them because they were peaceful. But being peaceful doesn't mean being weak. Today, we're going to prove that peace, music, and cooperation are stronger than war and violence. Amy picked up her violin. The Crystal Keeper taught me a song. He says, it's the most important song in Zephyrian culture. It's called Let Me Love You. It's about opening your heart to others, even when you're afraid. Kate started up her machines. Dr. Chun prepared to coordinate with the approaching Allied ships. Steve took his position at the defensive controls. Captain. Jake Martinez looked out at the Zephyrian planet, where broken crystals waited to sing again. Begin the operation. Let's bring their music back to life. Amy Foster stood on the surface of the Zephyrian planet, holding her violin and looking up at the massive crystal formation that towered above her. Around the crystal, Kate Wilson's frequency generators hummed softly, waiting for the signal to begin. This was the moment everything had been leading to. Amy, are you ready? Came Captain Jake Martinez's voice through her communication device. Amy took a deep breath. As ready as I'll ever be, Captain. Beside her, the Zephyrian crystal. Keeper played a soft melody of encouragement. Amy had learned that his name, when translated into human music, sounded like gentle wind chimes. She called him Chime. Dr. Nick Thompson, the ship's cultural expert, was coordinating the effort from the harmony. Nick was a calm man with a gray beard who knew about different cultures and how they worked together. Amy, I'm receiving musical data from our Allied ships. The Melodians and core builders are in position at crystal sites around the planet. What about the hostile ships? Amy asked. Commander Steve Parker's voice came through the communication system. They'll be here in 30 minutes. We have to start now, or we won't get another chance. Kate Wilson was checking her machines one final time. Amy, remember that. These crystals are alive. They need to feel the emotion in the music, not just hear the right notes. Amy nodded and raised her violin. She had spent the last day learning not just the Zephyrian crystal songs, but understanding what they meant. Each crystal formation on the planet had its own musical personality, and they all needed to work together like instruments in an orchestra. Beginning. The performance, Amy announced. She drew her bow across the violin strings and began to play. The music that came out was unlike anything she had ever played before. It was the Zephyrian song, Let Me Love You, but she played it with all the human emotion she could put into it. She thought about her friends on the harmony, about the dying Zephyrian civilization, and about all the peaceful species across the galaxy who needed hope. Kate's frequency generators picked up Amy's music and amplified it, sending the sound waves into the massive crystal formation. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the broken crystals began to glow with soft blue light. It's working, Kate shouted. The crystals are responding. Chime began to play along with Amy, adding Zephyrian harmonies to her human melody. Other Zephyrians around the planet joined in, their music combining with Amy's violin through Kate's machines. Dr. Thompson was monitoring the global effort. Amy, the Melodians at the Northern Crystal Site are ready to join the performance. They're adding their music now. Amy heard new melodies joining her song. The Melodians were bird-like aliens who sang with voices that could hit notes no human could reach. Their music soared above Amy's violin like songbirds flying over a river. The chord builders are online too, Dr. Thompson reported. They're providing the bass harmonies. The chord builders were rock-like aliens who made music by vibrating their stone bodies. Their deep, rumbling notes provided a foundation that Amy could feel in her bones. As more crystal formations around the planet began to sing, Amy realized she was part of the largest musical performance in galactic history. Humans, Zephyrians, Melodians, chord builders, and 5 other alien species were all playing music together, trying to heal a dying world. Captain, came Ben Rodriguez's voice from the harmony. I'm detecting massive energy buildups around the planet. The crystal network is coming back to life. But then Steve Parker's voice cut through the celebration. Hostile ships dropping out of hyperspace. 12 vessels, all armed with heavy weapons. Amy kept playing, even as she saw the dark shapes of enemy ships appearing in the sky above. These were the aliens who had attacked the Zephyrian crystals years ago, coming back to finish their conquest. Amy, don't stop playing, Captain Martinez ordered. The crystal network needs more time to fully activate. The enemy ships began firing energy weapons at the crystal formations around the planet. Explosions lit up the sky, and Amy felt the ground shake under her feet. Some of the distant crystals went silent as they were hit by the attacks. "We're losing crystal sites," Dr. Thompson reported. "The network is breaking down." Amy realized that the performance needed to be more than just technically correct. It needed to be emotional, passionate, and full of life. She thought about what "Let Me Love You" really meant. It was about opening your heart to others, about choosing love over fear, about refusing to give up even when everything seemed hopeless. She began to play with more emotion than she had ever put into music. Before, she played for every street corner where she had performed for strangers. She played for her crew members who had become her family. She played for Chime and all the Zephyrians who just wanted to live in peace and harmony. Kate's machines amplified not just the sound of Amy's music, but somehow the emotion too. Across the planet, other musicians felt Amy's passion and began to play with the same intensity. The crystals are responding to the emotional content. Kate shouted over the noise of the battle. "They're getting stronger." The Zephyrian crystal formations began to glow brighter. As the music grew more powerful, the crystals started to create protective energy fields around themselves. When the enemy ships fired at them, their weapons were deflected by walls of pure harmonic energy. Commander Steve Parker, fighting to keep the Harmony safe from enemy fire, saw what was happening. "Captain, the crystals are defending themselves. The music is creating some kind of shield." Dr. Thompson was watching data from across the planet. "It's not just shields. The crystal network is creating a planetary defense system powered by music and emotion." Amy kept playing, tears streaming down her face from the beauty and power of what they were creating together. The music had become bigger than any single species. It was the sound of different civilizations choosing to work together instead of fighting each other. The enemy ships found themselves unable to penetrate the crystal shields. Worse for them, the harmonic energy from the crystals was interfering with their weapons and engines. Ships that had seemed unstoppable moments before were now struggling just to stay in the air. "The enemy fleet is retreating," Steve reported. "Their ships can't function in the harmonic field." But Amy knew the performance wasn't over yet. The crystal network was still incomplete. Several formations had been damaged in the initial attack, and the planetary harmony wasn't perfect yet. "Everyone keep playing," Amy called out through the communication network. "We need to reach every crystal on the planet." For the next hour, Amy and musicians from 7 different species played together in perfect cooperation. Slowly, damaged crystals began to heal themselves. Silent formations started to sing again. The planet's natural harmony was being restored note by note, melody by melody. Chime played a song of gratitude beside Amy. Through their musical conversation, he told her that the crystals were not just healed, but stronger than they had ever been before. The combination of different species' musical abilities had created harmonies that the Zephyrians had never imagined possible. As the last crystal formation joined the planetary song, Amy finally lowered her violin. The performance was complete. Around her, the Zephyrian world blazed with light and music. The planet was alive again, protected by the power of interspecies cooperation and the universal language of music. "Performance complete, Captain," Amy said, exhausted but happy. "Well done, Amy," Jake replied. "Well done, everyone. You've just saved an entire civilization." But as Amy looked up at the stars, she realized they had done more than save the Zephyrians. They had proven that peaceful species could defend themselves when they worked together. The age of galactic bullying was about to end. 3 months had passed since the great musical performance that saved the Zephyrian planet. Amy Foster stood in a beautiful garden on the Zephyrian homeworld, watching the crystal formations sing in the distance. The crystals now glowed with colors she had never seen before, creating music that mixed the styles of 7 different alien species. Captain Jake Martinez walked through the garden to join her. The garden itself was a wonder, with plants that grew in musical patterns and flowers that chimed softly when the wind touched them. "The Zephyrian Council wants to meet with you again today," Jake told Amy. Amy smiled. "Let me guess. They want to teach me more of their advanced music." Something like that. Amy had become famous across the galaxy. She was the first human to fully master the Zephyrian musical language, and now she could communicate with any species that used music or sound for communication. The Zephyrians had given her a special title that translated to Bridge Singer, someone who could connect different peoples through music. They walked to the main Zephyrian city, where the buildings still amazed Amy every day. The structures were like frozen music, with walls that curved like melody lines and towers that spiraled like harmony. The city itself was an instrument, and the Zephyrians who lived there were the musicians who made it sing. Chime, the crystal keeper who had become Amy's closest Zephyrian friend, was waiting for them at the council building. His silver skin shimmered with happiness as he played a greeting song. "Amy, my friend," Chime's music said, "the council has wonderful news to share with you." Inside the council chamber, Amy met with 12 of the oldest and wisest Zephyrians. They were the leaders of their civilization, and they had lived for hundreds of years. Their music was more complex than any Amy had heard before, like listening to an entire orchestra played by one person. The eldest Zephyrian, whose name sounded like deep bells ringing, played a long and formal musical speech. Amy listened carefully, and then responded in the Zephyrian musical language. "They're offering to teach humanity their most advanced harmonic technologies," Amy translated for Captain Martinez. "They want to share everything they know about using music and sound waves for peaceful purposes." Jake felt amazed. "That's incredibly generous." Amy continued listening to the Zephyrian music. "They say that humans have given them something even more valuable. We've shown them that different species can work together and create something beautiful." Before humans came, the Zephyrians thought they were alone in their love of music. The eldest Zephyrian played another melody, and Amy's eyes grew wide. "What is it?" Jake asked. "They want me to become the first human ambassador to the Harmonic Alliance." "The what?" Amy turned to Jake with excitement. "Captain, they're forming a new alliance of peaceful species. All the species that helped save the Zephyrian planet want to work together. They're calling it the Harmonic Alliance because it's based on cooperation and harmony instead of war and conquest." Over the next few hours, Amy learned about the amazing plans the peaceful species had made together. The Melodians wanted to share their singing technologies. The chord builders offered to teach other species how to build with sound waves. 5 other species brought their own special abilities to the alliance. And what would humanity's role be in this alliance? Jake asked. Chime played a beautiful melody that made Amy smile. "We would be the translators," Amy said. "Humans are the only species that can understand both the mathematical and emotional parts of music. We can help all these different species communicate with each other." Dr. Lisa Chun, Dr. Nick Thompson, and Commander Steve Parker joined them in the council chamber. They had been exploring other parts of the Zephyrian world, learning about their science and culture. "This is incredible," Dr. Chun said. "The Zephyrians have technologies that could solve many problems on Earth. Clean energy, healing sound waves, even ways to grow food using musical frequencies. Dr. Thompson was excited about the cultural possibilities. Think about it. Humans could become the diplomats of the galaxy, helping different species understand each other through the universal language of music. Steve looked more practical. What about those hostile aliens who attacked the Zephyrians? They're still out there. The eldest Zephyrian heard Steve's question and played a strong, confident melody. He says the hostile species are called the Devourers, Amy translated. They attack peaceful civilizations because they think peace means weakness. But now the peaceful species are working together, and the Devourers are afraid. Amy listened to more Zephyrian music. The crystal networks on 7 different planets are now connected. If the Devourers attack any Harmonic Alliance world, all the other worlds will know immediately and can send help. Jake understood. So the peaceful species are becoming strong by working together. Exactly. And the Devourers don't know how to fight an enemy that doesn't want to conquer or destroy, but just wants to help and protect. Kate Wilson and Ben Rodriguez arrived at the council chamber, carrying some of Kate's musical machines. Kate had been working with Zephyrian engineers to improve her designs. "Captain," Kate said, "you need to see what we've built together." Kate activated one of her new machines. It was smaller than her original frequency generators, but much more powerful. When she turned it on, it created music that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "It's a universal translator," Kate explained. "Any species can speak into it in their own language. Words, music, colors, even smell, and it will translate the meaning for any other species." Ben added, "We tested it with all 7 Alliance species. Perfect communication every time." Amy realized what this meant. We could use these to help peaceful species all across the galaxy find each other and work together. The eldest Zephyrian played a song that sounded like celebration and hope combined. "He says this is just the beginning," Amy translated. "The Harmonic Alliance wants to spread across the galaxy, connecting every peaceful species and protecting them from those who would do harm." Jake looked at his crew, people who had started as explorers and become heroes. "So what do you say? Should humanity join the Harmonic Alliance?" Amy picked up her violin and played a song that needed no translation. It was "Let Me Love You," but now it carried the musical styles of humans, Zephyrians, Melodians, chord builders, and all the other species they had met. It was a song about opening your heart to others, about choosing cooperation over conflict, and about the power of love to bring different peoples together. The Zephyrian Council responded with music of their own, and soon the entire chamber was filled with an interspecies symphony of agreement and joy. 6 months later, Amy stood on the bridge of a new kind of ship. It was built using technologies from all the Alliance species, and its mission was to find other peaceful civilizations and invite them to join the growing Harmonic Alliance. Captain Martinez was still her commanding officer, but now their ship was more than just human. Chime served as the Zephyrian cultural advisor. A melodian named Aria provided navigation through her songs. A chord builder called Stone helped with engineering. "Ambassador Foster," Jake said formally, "we're receiving a musical signal from an unknown species." "It sounds like they're asking for help." Amy smiled and picked up her violin. This was why she had become an ambassador, to answer the call when someone needed help, to offer love when others offered only fear. "Then let's go help them, Captain." After all, that's what the Harmonic Alliance is for. As their ship turned toward the source of the music, Amy thought about how much had changed since that first day when they heard strange music from space. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not as conquerors or warriors, but as friends, helpers, and bridges between different worlds. The universe was vast and full of different species, but music was universal. And wherever there was music, there could be love, understanding, and Hope.Amy began to play, sending a message back to the unknown species. The song said, "We hear you. We're coming to help. Let us love you."